Hello, how are you doing today? Welcome to Youth Assembly. How is your mental health this new week? I hope you are doing so well that you are ready to face every challenges that a week have to offer. Well, it will come, but we will overcome. All right, it's a psychological affair today as we look at causes of suicide amongst Nigerian youths on Youth Assembly today. Now, according to the World Health Organization, WHO, research was carried out in 2016, where Nigeria came out as having the highest rate of suicide amongst African countries, with over 17,000 lives lost to suicide. Now, recently, Nigerians were left stunned by the death of Dele Bandele, a young man who took his own life after he left a suicide note to his loved ones. Now, like in many cases, suicide amongst youths has become rampant, and people are asking the question, what could have led a young person who is supposed to be so vibrant and full of life to bring his life to a halt by committing suicide? That is one question we intend to answer today. I have with me psychologist in the house, Mr. Ayo. Yes, Mr. Ayo Ajibe. He is a clinical psychologist and team lead, Mentally Aware Nigeria Mani Abuja chapter. Welcome, Mr. Ayo.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you.
Okay, I have another person, a psychotherapist, who is by the name Hawa Bello. Welcome, madam. And also welcome to you, Ale Odiame, for joining us. Ale Odiame is a mental health counselor. Welcome, Ayo. Ale.
Thank you.
Okay, so first thing first, I'll start with you, Mr. Ayo. What was your reaction when you heard of the death of the young Bandele Bandele from suicide days after his birthday?
Thank you so much. Hearing about Billy's issue specifically, I only felt like, okay, that's one person we are unable to reach out to as an organization, as also as an individual. It's a sad instance, it's a sad story, but it's also a motivation for us and a poke on the side for us that we also have a lot of work to do in terms of awareness and letting people know that there are a lot of things that can be done and people are getting treatment for this kind of thought process and people are getting better. And by the time they look back, they discover that there are better ways to things or there are other options rather than that of thinking of handling it. So it's a sad story if I'm being specific about Dele's issue. Thank you.
Now, most suicide cases that we see often leave more questions than answer. People are asking, what could have gone wrong? What made this young man to take his life? Oh, his life was going so well for him. Why did he do this? So I would like to ask the psychotherapist in the building, Mrs. Hawa Bello, what do you think could trigger a young person to take the decision to commit suicide? Can you hear me, madam? However, yes. Okay.
Yeah, hello. I wasn't hearing anything.
Okay, I think that's.
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Okay, so I'm asking, most suicide cases leave questions than answers. People are asking why. So what do you think could trigger a young person to take that decision to commit suicide? All right, I think she's having poor connection, but let's
Okay.
now.
So there are a lot of things that could. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, so I was saying that there are a lot of things that could cause someone to commit suicide. And of course, since we're talking about the mental health issue, so a lot of times the person actually has a mental health issue. Something we do joke around with in terms of depression, for example, is one of the leading cause of suicide among young people. So bullying, different types of mental health issues like depression, anxiety, a whole lot of reasons, trauma, you know, things that could make somebody become hopeless and worthless, and in his or her own side could actually push the person to commit suicide. So people who have even schizophrenia, for example, that is another type of mental health issue, can actually be pushed to commit suicide. And I think I also need to say it here that suicide is the second leading cause of death among children, adolescents, and young adults. So I appreciate the fact that you're talking about this, because most of the time we do sweep these things under the carpet and we don't recognize that it's a very, very big issue. I know you haven't asked me this question, but I hear a lot of people say that we Africans are happy people and all that. So perhaps it's a white man thing, but obviously it's not a white man thing, and a whole lot of things can push people to commit suicide.
Okay, Mr. Ale.
Yeah.
Yes, so we have 17,000 from the report by from WHO in 2016. 17,000 lives were lost to suicide in Nigeria. With Nigeria with the highest suicidal rate in Africa. Now, how did Nigeria even get to this place? Just like Hajia or Hawa mentioned earlier, that we Africans, people are of the opinion that Africans are strong. There are so many challenges that we've been able to overcome. Why would a young person so full of life take his life? So, Mr. Ale, take it from here.
Okay, well, as you have rightly said, it is a public health issue because, as you said, Nigeria has the highest, and if you even check the ratio, you see that we have a ratio of 3 to 47% for men to women. So it's kind of
Mm,
affecting the male gender more than that of the female gender. So one leading cause of this that I think is the leading cause of this is the fact that as small as the family unit is, this is supposed to be the functional unit where whatever you face inside, if you come home to your family, you should get some kind of buffer. Even at that level, a lot of people are still facing the challenges that they faced outside at home. So as a result of this, when they go outside and they are traumatized, there's still no place for solace, no place for comfort or succor when they eventually come home. So it is as it is, families are no more playing that fundamental role that they used to play. And it also appears that another thing affecting the youth is that parents are clearly giving up on their responsibilities towards their children. And what they now think of is the only thing that I need to provide for my children is provide for them financially, give them the best things they need, give them they will go let them go to the best schools. But for psychological and emotional reinforcement, that is not there anymore. And once this is lacking, it definitely affects the children.
hmm. Okay. From the suicide note that was dropped by Dele before he died, God bless his soul, he actually mentioned about a line or two suggesting that something went wrong in his family. And like you mentioned, Mr. Ale, the family has a responsibility to cater for the mental health of their children. So he like said something that would suggest that the father wasn't actually there. But let's hear from you, Mr. Ayo, why you think this is so, why family plays an important role in making sure that your children are well off in terms of mental health.
Thank you so much. The first unit of every individual is the family. So the family is significant right from birth till death in the life of every individual. So the environment where you grew up, which is also the family, the beliefs that they have in that family matters a lot. And this takes us to one of the major things that actually contributes to suicide in terms of the study of suicidology. We're not looking at the type of illness that's related to now. We have a lot of faulty belief system, which we call cognitive distortions, that are mostly found with within the family units. So the kind of belief we've kind of sort of passed into the children or into the people in the environment through the family unit the kind of thought pattern, thinking system, interpersonal relation styles, assertiveness styles, and every other thing. So you are introduced to various things from the family. So the family have a significant job to do, and the parenting style of the parents also matters and contributes strongly to this. Most of us develop low self-esteem,
Mm.
loss of identity, low self confidence, low self worth from the way we were managed, from the way we were trained. And some of us also develops high confidence, from the way we were trained. Some of us kind of inherit trauma from our family unit, because that's
Mm.
another thing. You can actually inherit trauma, and trauma is
Mm.
one of the causes of suicide among humans, not just youth alone. So you can also inherit trauma. So what we're saying is that if we have a faulty family unit or a faulty family system, it has a significant, it becomes a significant predictor of future mental health issues, which one of them is suicide. So is family unit very, very vital and important to controlling suicide in the present and in the future? Yes, because we have family history of mental illness also. So if a particular member of the family has lived with one or two types of mental illness, it also means that the children in that family are probably kind of predisposed to one or two types of mental illness.
You mean
Also, the loss of a
mental illness can be inherited? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, there is genetic predisposition to
Okay.
some types of mental health. So there's a genetic predisposition to it. Like if schizophrenia, some also depression has also been found to have a genetic background to it. Also, the loss of a particular family member can also lead to this. The loss of a
Mm.
particular family member can also lead to this. If a family member is using substance or is going through trauma or other type of mental health issues, it also have effect on the child that is coming out of that
Mm.
family unit. So is family units, very, very important. It is extremely important because what even forms society is a combination of several family units. So if you have several defective family units or family system, it becomes a defective society. And that is why we have different types of mental health issues, body dysmorphic, eating disorder, bipolar, schizophrenia, and the likes. So I agree with Mr. Ale saying that the family unit is very, very important because those are one of the areas we focus on when we are trying to do awareness and manage treatment. Even if a patient walks in today, by the time we trace the history, you've also discover that there is at least some fraction of family, contribution to their current feeling, to their current phase of populousness, meaninglessness, bothersome, sense of no belongingness, and the like. There's a contribution of the family unit. It may not be the whole family, it may be a
Yes.
significant family member. So I think I agree with him. Family unit is very, very important in controlling and managing societal thought or ideation of societology.
Okay. So when the
Thank you.
news of the Bandele broke, social media was hit by a lot of people talking about how people can reach out to people who have suicidal tendencies to reduce the rate of suicide in Nigeria or in the world. But the question is, how do we even identify people who have suicidal tendencies? Mrs. Hawa, please answer this question.
Okay, some of the ways to thank you for that. Some of the ways to actually identify is when you notice that somebody has changes in eating habits or sleeping habits. That's it. Maybe the person begins to eat too much or eats too less, sleeps too much or sleeps too less. The person begins to withdraw. The person begins to avoid, going out to places they used to enjoy going to before. The person is withdrawn. The person is quiet. For teenagers and youths now, for example, the person begins to not want to go to school. They decline in their schoolwork, so they are not doing very well. So maybe an A student begins to fall in grade and it becomes a C, C becomes F. He's always avoiding people, avoiding social um, contact. then the person is preoccupied by death. So you notice maybe the person saying, I wish I was dead,
Yeah.
I wish I was not living. The person begins to say things like that. And then the person also, sometimes you see them, they begin to dash out their things, getting ready for, okay, when I die, those things I love, let me give it out. So they give out their things, they have the barest minimum with them, and you begin to wonder what's going on. They begin to also withdraw from family and friends. And sometimes they complain headache, stomach pain, fatigue. They'll find different excuses not to go out and just be in their room. And then they begin to stop taking care of themselves. So they won't bathe, they won't brush their teeth. I mean, the basic self-care an individual should do, they stop doing that. So when you notice any of these or all of
Yeah.
these, or a combination of things, you need to start asking questions. What is going on? And then you need to, of course, take this person for a proper psychological assessment to know, is this person battling depression? Is this person battling bullying? Is there a behavioral issue that is coming up? Is there impulsivity and all that? And then another thing I need to also say is, when there's a family history of any mental health issue, or there's a family history of suicide attempts in that family, there is always a higher tendency that will happen again in that family. So if you notice any of these in any of the family members, it's high time to, let your antennas be up and try to find solutions to what is going on. I also wanted
But
to add.
sometimes you look at some people when they grieve, for example, let's take grief, for example, and these people tend to withdraw, and they say, I've heard a lot of doctors like you say that there is a time to grieve. So what do you do? How do you even differentiate that this person grieving isn't going to tend towards suicide?
Okay, so the difference is in what the person is saying.
Okay.
Okay, for example, so if the person is not saying, I wish I was the one in the place of this person, or I wish I was dead too, or something like that, if the person is not insinuating, and then grief has the initial deep grief has some timeline. So if this continues past that timeline, you need to start looking out what is happening. And then I used to also say, if this person had a mental health issue before the grief, do you
Okay.
understand? There is
Okay.
something underlying, there's something before the grief. You people shouldn't leave that person alone for 1 minute, because you already know that there is trauma, there is something down there, or this person is already battling mental health issue, and then this person loses a loved one. You definitely want to watch out for that. And if there is also a family history of a mental health issue or suicidal ideation before now, you want to watch out for it. And then
Okay.
even when the person is grieving, and they say there's a time to grieve, you want to keep an eye on this person. Regularly check on the person. Like, is this person okay? You want to know, have they eaten? How, just keep checking. So in case there's anything, you can catch it on time. And then I also wanted to say something, because I think it was earlier that said that men are more in the suicide, the men commit suicide more. That is very, very true. However, I wanted to also add that females make more attempts. So females make more attempts, but they don't have as much audacity to go full length like the men. So even though the men make less attempts, they would succeed more. The women make more attempts. So you see that a lot of women have actually attempted suicide, but they will never, they don't eventually kill themselves, because maybe halfway through something happens, or they are looking for a milder way, so they take excess aspirin, or they take excess medication, or like a man that would go ahead and just, I want to do it, I want to do it. So we need to clarify that a lot of women actually attempt suicide more, but men actualize their suicidal attempts more. I hope that makes sense.
Okay, Mr. Ale.
Okay.
All right,
Yeah.
with the suggestions that Hawa gave about people reaching out to people who are grieving, people who have suicidal tendencies, do you think all of these approaches would reduce the rate of suicide um, in Nigeria and even in the world?
Yes, it will. Yeah, like she said, it is very important to take note of changes in people when these changes are glaring. Even sometimes they might not be really glaring. So it will take someone who's discerning and who notices to see those changes. The person might lose interest in one's fun activities. For example, someone that loves to play football or watch football all of a sudden doesn't have any interest in that anymore, then you know that something is wrong. So yes, once we're able to identify this and get the person the needed help, it will be very effective in addressing the issue before it gets to the state where the person is nursing suicidal ideations. And I would like to point out too, like when you asked about grief, it, grief has stages, yeah. So the
Mhm.
person has to actually be able to go through the stages of grief. You get from denial to anger to bargaining, depression, then acceptance. When the person has gotten to that acceptance, where he has accepted what has happened, then we know that the person is kind of out of the danger zone. But if the person is really in that depression stage and does not come out of it quickly, then the person actually needs help. So it is very important to take note of this. And when someone is suicidal, it is important to note that for someone to have a suicidal, what constitutes a suicidal emergency, the person must have thought of how they want to do it, when they want to do it, and even the place where they want to do it. Yeah. So
Huh.
place, time, and the means through which they'll do it are very important. So when we see these things have already been set in place, for example, if someone in a suicide note, for example, makes some is able to identify these particular things, then we need to get them help as soon as possible. That is a suicidal emergency, and they need help as soon as possible.
Now, for the case in the case of Bandele, now he dropped a hint on his social media handle, and in the time past, also some of the cases that we have seen, people drop hints on social media, and before you get to them, or the search begins to look for them, before you get to them, the deed has already happened. So, what do you do when you realize that okay, this person so full of life, or who partied with you yesterday is actually thinking about committing suicide? How do you get to know this and even take action before it happens?
Okay, is that for me?
Yes, Mr. Allen.
Okay, well, like it, I think it still boils down to our being discerning, to our being very noticing of what happens to our friends, especially the people within our circle. You understand? It is very, very important. Little signs. I'm sure that before this person actually goes through with it, you might be dropping hints, and people do not take them seriously. So it's important to take people seriously, even when it seems as if the person is playing. We do not want to take them for granted, because everyone is really on a fine thread, as it were, when it comes to their mental health, especially with what has happened over the past year up till now. So a little thing can tick anyone off. So we need to be watchful. And social media has become a tool through which people actually voice out their problems, what's going on with them. And because of the whole fuss about social media, a lot of people just accept, take it as the person trying to chase clout or trying to gain attention for himself. But if you are in the circle of that person, the close circle, do not take anyone for granted, because a lot of people will not voice out what they are going through. So once you are able to get a sign as to what is happening with them, please take it seriously and try to get them help as soon as possible.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Ale. Well, if you're just joining us, it is Youth Assembly on Click Niger, and we are looking at the causes of suicide amongst Nigerian youths. We would like you to comment and tell us what you think is the cause of suicide as it rises in Nigeria amongst youths. What causes it? We'd like to know. All right, we have a comment already. Naomi Ivares, why are you laughing? She said, laugh hard. But okay, I think she's suggesting how to come out of depression or how to come out of a difficult situation. Just laugh and find happiness from what you're doing. But over to you, Mr. Ajebe Ayo. Now, suicide is illegal in Nigeria, right? So, but with despite this, a lot of people are still committing suicide. Despite them being illegal. So, why do you think this is so? Okay, we can't hear you. You're muted, I think.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I believe you can hear me now. So I actually love when you ask the question because it's actually funny when a state or a country seems to focus on the illegal aspect of taking one's life and doing less of caring for that individual's life. So it's a serious. I don't know. That's why I'm laughing because I think
Will it work?
all of
Will
this
it
just
work?
need
Like
to.
everybody know that suicide is illegal, then will it work in helping to stop it, or from making people attempt to commit
Not at
suicide?
all.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, because I know it's illegal to do something, and I know that sometimes you need to understand, when you study sociology to an extent, there are three things I consider if I'm having, someone in front of me. Apart from, after I've, considered several other symptoms and the conditions. Number one, currently, how is this person feeling? There's a sense of bothersome, like I explained earlier. Number two, the person does not feel connected to anyone again. Number three, there is an energy within the person to carry out the action. You understand? So
Mm-hmm.
at that point that I am, even a phone call will only help to a certain extent. It will not help. It's like a very tiny anchor. And the thought of the law saying, can I take my life or not, is never going to be on my mind. Let's take, for instance, if the major cause or the significant cause of that pushed the person to that point is a loss of job, and the
Yeah.
person have responsibility and is thinking, oh, what is the next point? And the person is a government worker or a civil servant. Will that individual think of, oh, don't let me sin against the government or against the law of the land? No. So having a law that is saying suicide is illegal is not the point. What are we
What is
doing?
the point?
How many helplines has the government provided?
Okay.
When you study criminology very well, there's a theory that says that it is the environment and the government that created crime, that it is not the individual that has a criminal nature. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Mm-hmm.
coming back to this suicidology, when you look at it, at that critical point, you ask a question earlier from Mr. Ale that, okay, at that point, when they post on social media, before we even got to them, last year, the lady called me. I sent 2 Ubers to her environment, and me, I also tried to reach out to her. Before I got there, she's gone.
Mm.
So will that person think of law or something? Because when you look at the definition of suicide, it is described as a psychological pain. It is an intense pain at that point. So the person has a lower tendency of thinking of the law. So I don't even want to think about, is it a crime or not. I'm not saying, I'm not kind of going against that it's not a crime or not. What I'm saying is we should not focus on the aspect of is a crime. I could recall one case in 2018 or 2017 that a guy wanted to jump into the water or lagoon in Lagos. Then they got
Yeah.
him. The police arrested him. I was lucky. Is he arrested or taken to the professionals to help him? So at this point, what I will say to every individual is, even before we start seeing symptoms in people, because it is believed that before you can start seeing a behavior in me as an individual may have been feeling it, but I don't know. May have been experiencing some things, but I don't know what it means until the
Okay.
point where I can't take it anymore. I'm not overwhelmed with that feeling. Number one, if you started having the thoughts, like Mrs. Awa said earlier, and Ayo, Ali, when you started having the thought of it, that's number one. When you discover that you are stressed and you are thinking of, okay, let me take a particular prescribed medication, or you're using substances or illicit substances to calm yourself down, when you have gotten to a point where you don't have purpose in life, you ask yourself, what am I even doing here? What is my purpose in life? What is my goal? The sense of meaninglessness, when you started having that, this is not people seeing it in you. You yourself, you'll be thinking about this on your own. Another one is you have a lot of anxiety, palpitation, a lot of panic, sweating, apprehension over there. And another thing is you are feeling trapped, like your life is not moving forward. You just feel trapped in one place, in relationship, at work, in your personal life, in family. You discover that you're feeling trapped, like the wall is closing in and tightening of the chest. Another one, you feel like Mrs. Awai explained earlier, when you see this person is withdrawn. Where I'm coming from now is when you yourself, you discover that, oh, when was the last time I actually called this person, chat this person, visit this person? You know that personally you're becoming withdrawn from the environment. Even if you are still going to work, you only go there to clock in, clock out. You are not productive, so that at least at the end of the month, they will not deduct your salary. And another thing is you become irritable. Any little thing gets you angry. In the cab, in the Uber, driving on the road, in the house, watching a movie, you get angry. And when you now discover that you are engaging in reckless behavior, some people, that's when they will now be drinking. Maybe their own is probably they can only take a can of alcohol before a beer or so. Now they are now taking essence that they don't care whatever happens, engaging in risky behaviors, risky sexual activities, taking excessive alcohol, driving recklessly at a high speed. Those are things you may not know, but when you discover that you started doing most of these things, and a sudden mood change, when you now discover that your mood, just in the morning you wake up, all well and good, oh, today is going to be a bright day, you did all the self-talk and self-affirmation thing, and you just discover that in the next 1 or 2 hours, it's like you're not the same person that woke up with a high spirit. When it's called that your mood twists and changes, we are not talking about mood swing or bipolar this time around. You just got that your mood changes drastically within hours, within days. All these things, when you've observed all these things in yourself, quickly, don't wait till when, oh, I'm not thinking of suicide. Yes, yet you may not be thinking of suicide, but all these things can get to that point. Please, and this also goes to government or other institutions. Let's look at how we can provide more platform, rather than, if government is saying is a crime, then the same government should have different lifelines. At least, as in Nigeria, we're more than 200 million. At least we should have 200 different lifelines that people can call toll free by now, provided by government
Now speaking about
or some
government,
other. You understand? Yes, if you are saying it's a crime, if you commit a crime, there is prison, there is police and everybody to get you. If you commit this type of crime, this is what you do. If you commit a crime to your life, which is committing suicide, attempting suicide, or because if you commit suicide, the person is already dead. If the person attempted suicide, that is when they said it's a crime. Okay, what is the platform? What are we doing presently? Awareness. What are we doing?
all
Because
right, in
people
terms
are
of
going through
policies
issues.
also, in terms of policies also, mental health experts have come out to say Nigeria does not have an effective suicide prevention policy. Uh, Hawa, I'd like you to answer, what kind of policies do you think would you love to see the government come up with to help people with suicidal tendencies?
Okay. Yeah, it's a big problem that the government doesn't have right policies in place. The first thing is even that if you commit suicide, yeah, if you attempt suicide, you'll be arrested, and that's why most people who want to attempt suicide will make sure that they do it. Because if you do it, you cannot arrest somebody who is dead. You will just go and bury them. So they would rather do something so drastic that they won't even survive it. So you don't get to arrest them. So but the first thing first is for the federal government to even identify and accept that this is just like physical health issue, mental health issue is a health problem. Do you get what I mean? As in, just like diabetes and all this is a health problem, suicide ideation and other mental health issue is a health problem. So the way they focus on the physical health problems, that's the same way they should focus on mental health problems. So every every general hospital, for example, or every national healthcare center should also have a mental health clinic. And in that mental health clinic, it should be made of a policy thing that it should be a hotline, a suicide prevention hotline, or even a crisis hotline, or whatever hotline, such that people can call in. Because another thing I hear
Do we have such in Nigeria?
I
Do you have a hotline? Do you have a hotline where people with the suicidal tendencies can actually reach
we
out a professional to talk?
we have private organizations who have private organizations, but I don't know of any from the federal government. But I know that private organizations have such, but the federal government doesn't have. And the truth of the matter is, mental health care is expensive. I have said it too. I also have said it, and I have said it that when you have this issue, you seek help. But the truth of the matter is, we can't deny the fact that a lot of people cannot afford to seek this help, and because it's not available in general hospital where the federal government is sponsoring and paying these doctors, and it's cheap to attend physical health care, because it's not available in these general hospitals. People who cannot afford it, even when they know there's a problem and they want to seek help, there is no way they can seek help. So if the federal government can actually make it mandatory that every healthcare clinic under them, whether it's federal, whether it's state, whether it's local government, every single one has a mental health clinic, just like we have a maternity clinic, an ENT clinic, a gynec, just like we have all those clinics in those places, we should also have a mental health clinic where people can come in and get mental health care that they can afford. And the federal government is paying the staff that is being employed there. That will go a long way, because just like we've noted, there's always a process. You don't just wake up one day and become suicidal. Something has happened. A lot of things have gone under the water before you get to that stage. And when these things begin to happen, so like for example, Ayo said, you begin to drink too much, you begin to sleep too much, you begin to withdraw, something is going wrong with you, you can always walk into the clinic and they can always do assessment for you and know precisely what's going on and catch it on time. We all know that, a stitch in time saves nine. The earlier you catch some of these things, the better for you. So if I catch a depression that is mild now, because there are different stages of depression. So there's mild, there's moderate, there's severe, and there's really extreme. So when I catch a depression at mild or moderate, treating it is easier and less expensive than catching depression that is severe or extreme, where you even may need to, hospitalize the person. Just like addiction too, when somebody has mild addiction, you catch it on time, it's easier to treat that individual and save the person from addiction and eventually committing suicide or doing whatever it is that is wrong, or going into risky behavior. It's better to treat that person early than when it gets to the severe stage where, in fact, there are other health complications before this person seeks treatment.
Now that you mentioned, if it gets to that stage where somebody attempts suicide, what should people around the person do to make sure that they help the loved one from even carrying through and next time and making sure the person kills himself? So what should people around the person or family, friends, do at that point when you know that this person has attempted it, do to make sure that it doesn't happen again, and the person might be unlucky the next time. Mr. Ale.
Okay, I think it's very important for the family members to first realize that they are caregivers and not health professionals. So they do not want to be the ones to bring out strategies on how they should cope or anything. They are there to give support. what they should do is to make sure that they get them the right professional help. Take them to a psychologist or a psychiatrist that will give them the help that they really need. It is not on in your place as a family member or as a friend to be the one to self-medicate them or try to give them strategies that would work. Because if you keep them at home without getting them the right professional help, you're doing more harm than good to them. So
So in
the one
Nigeria, we see a lot of people who are so religious. When this happens, they tend to take them to their religious leaders. Is that also okay to do in terms of getting help?
Well, people have different religious beliefs, and you not take that away from them. But
Okay.
while still praying, there is nothing wrong with seeking the right professional or medical help. It is very, very important. I don't know, maybe Ayo wants to weigh in on this because he was
Yes, I
smiling.
see him smiling. So from experience, you tell us.
Yeah.
You did a
Thank
lot of
you.
patients come
Thank
to
you
you.
so much.
Hmm.
Yes, you're very right. I've met different people that came for therapy, and if I discover that you have a very strong religious background, I also change my model that I'm using with the person. But when it gets to the point where you have a wound on your leg, and the leg is kind of bringing out pulse or blood every morning.
Hmm.
Yes, we have to pray about it, but you are feeling the pain, you are seeing the pain, you are seeing everything. Nobody will tell you to go to the hospital. And I'm very sure your religious leader will give you probably certain amount of money as a support. Young man or young lady, go to the hospital and get this wound treated, right?
Hmm.
So one of the problem we have with mental health issues is you hardly see them. You understand? So there's a possibility that we attribute things that we cannot see, you know, to higher power, higher forces. Just like Ayo said, Ali, I know him as Ayo, so you know him as Ali here. So, so as you can be praying for me that the therapy should work faster. You can be praying for me that the treatment should work faster. When religious leaders go to the hospital to pray, that is what they are trying to do, to pray for the treatment to work faster, right? So you can do that, but don't only limit it alone on the church or taking him to imam or going to pastor alone. They can be sending prayer. Prayer is so powerful. You can pray for someone in Netherlands from Nigeria, and it will work.
Mm.
So when the person is having other issues, please let's go to the best professionals. And one of the problems we have also is it is still the stigmatizing aspect that comes with the mental health also. Oh, we don't want to tarnish the image of our family name. We don't want people to know that you are experiencing a mental health issue. We are blocking it for you. And we're like what Mr. Awad said earlier, that getting it early will help the recovery work faster. What if the person has been covering it or the family has been covering it up, for a longer period? I met a lady that messaged me on Twitter. She's like 14 years old, and we started talking. Like, oh, I need to meet your parent. She told her parent that, oh, this is what I'm going through. I'm supposed to go and to the office of this person face to face. And the lady gave me a report that it broke my heart. You
And what was that?
understand? From the parents,
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say is we education about who a psychologist as a word, psychologist or psychiatrist as a word. Number one,
Yes.
what mental illness mean as a statement, as a word also. It matters a lot. We need to know these things. It's not a bad thing. If someone message you that, oh, I need to see a psychologist, guy, you don't decolo.
No, no. You see,
Like
most
Mr. Why
Nigerians
explained.
also have this judgmental attitude towards people who have
That
those
is the point. And you
tendencies.
are judgmental because you don't know. When you have low level of knowledge about a particular thing, don't generalize your low level or your low understanding about that field.
Mm.
What if I tell you I want to see a psychologist? It could be an educational psychologist, like she mentioned earlier. I may have an organization that I need a psychologist to come and do kind of anger management or stress management for them. We are all seeing psychologists, we are all seeing psychiatrists. But
Hmm.
the thing is, let's take our mental health serious. Let's
All
take the
right.
mental health of our work serious. When there is a problem, there is confidentiality. It's part of our ethics of our
Yes.
job as a
All
professional.
right.
you are covered, you are protected. Go to the professional while you're still praying. Go to the professional and seek
Yeah.
towards your health
Okay.
at the right time, please.
Yeah, so we're out of time. But before we go, what is your message to somebody who is out there contemplating suicide, Mrs. Hawa?
Okay, my message to that person is whatever is happening, know that it's a phase. And this phase would go if you give it time.
Hmm.
Life is all about phases. So the current phase you are in now is something that will go if we are willing to wait the tide. The second thing is for whatever you're going through, there is hope. The main reason why people go into suicidal attempt is hopelessness. And I want every single person to know that no matter what you're going through, there is always hope. And hold on to that hope. Hold on to that rope of hope. And just know that everything and anything does have a solution. What you need to do is look for that solution.
Thank you so much, Hawa Bello. Hawa Bello is a psychotherapist, for the kind words that you have said today. But Mr. Ale, before we go, what would you say? People are asking the question: psychologists, clinical psychologists, all of these doctors, do they even have difficult times? How do they deal with it? How would you express, just to encourage somebody out there? How do you express anger? Do you keep it in, or what do you do, so that people know that you are also human and that they can talk to you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah, sure, sure.
Ale,
Go
yes.
ahead. Yeah. Okay. So, for me personally, I want people to know that we are all humans, and the same things that affect you affect me too. So, it is very important to know that the people around you, the human support you have, is very, very important. Talking to people about your issues really helps. So, whenever you have any issues, anything that is bothering you, don't keep it into yourself. Don't find solitude or try to say, I can handle this myself. You have friends, you have people that are ready to listen to you, people that will not make you feel like a burden. That is what I do. I talk to my friends about anything that is going on with me, even though they might not have practical suggestions. The fact that I've
Yes.
spoken about it
Yeah.
makes me feel better. Sometimes too, I engage in exercise. I engage in activities that are fun for me, like reading a book or going out or just taking a walk just to clear my head. So these
Mm.
things actually help me, and I believe that they can help others too.
All right. Thank you so much for doing this with us today on Youth Assembly. And to you also, Mr. Ayo Ajebe, clinical psychologist and team lead, Mentally Aware Nigeria Mani Abuja chapter. Thank you for taking time to do this with us also. Hawa Bello was also our guest, who is a psychotherapist. We'll do this again tomorrow for another interesting edition. So join us for that edition of Youth Assembly. My name is Sylvia Isheme. And please remember to take your mental health seriously, like the doctors in the house. In fact, I am giving you the title doctors today for all of the tips and strategies you have given us on the show today. Have a fantastic day and, of course, good week, all of you. This show was put together by Hawa, by, by Iyoma Ukeje. Thank you so much. Have
Thank
a
you.
good day. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.